What's up, you guys? We're back again with the Cherokee, and we are going to be dropping in the motor today. So quick little recap of what we've done. We replaced the timing chain, the harmonic balancer, the water pump, the thermostat housing, the inlet tube, the freeze plugs, the oil pump, the oil pan gasket, these rear freeze plugs as well. The only one that's left is this one, the cam plug. And what else? I think that's it. On the O-rings right here. Well, these were from the previous video. And I think that's it. We cleaned all the ground contact points, also the one on the block. And we cleaned up the motor with some oven cleaner because it was really gunked up with oil and grease and all that. So now we're gonna get this engine off of the engine stand. We're gonna replace this plug right here that covers the cam, and we're going to put the covers and the flex plate back on. We got the flex plate on. These go to 105 foot-pounds. We just put a bolt through here and we were able to torque them all down. This piece is on. Don't forget to put this and that little spacer thing right here. Now let me show you guys the engine bay. For the engine bay, that's good. For the engine bay, what we did is we took off the what's this thing called, the power steering. Shit, the bottle just flew over there and it leaked some of the fluid right there, but I'm gonna clean it up. We took off this nut right now, and also we loosened this one because all that's gonna come off for the lift, so I might as well do it now. We loosened all the upper control arm nuts, so those are ready to come out as well. We cut these down for the transmission cooler. We replaced all these zip ties. We put new ones with the little tree things so they could go into their back into the body. Also the injector connectors, we shortened them because we left them long the first time. We fixed a lot of the wires that were coming apart. Insulation was crumbling, so we had to cut it and resolder it. So all that is cleaned up on that side. And then those connectors, we kind of rerouted them a little neater, and we put a zip tie so they could all stay on the firewall. The vent tubes, there were, the one for the transfer case is all the way up here now. The one for the transmission, the plastic broke, so it's gonna get here in the mail hopefully today or tomorrow. The one for the diff, front diff, we also extended that one, but we're not gonna put it in until we do the lift, so we could because either way it would have to come off. On this side, we did all the connectors as well. We're just missing that one for the washer fluid, which is not a big deal. We did the split loom on some of the sensors, also the wiring. The motor mounts came off. The power steering pump came off because the O-ring is bad. It was leaking, so we took it off. And this fuel line has to come off as well because it's damaged right here, so we have to go get those at the junkyard. Also this gas pedal cable, accelerator cable, has to be replaced. So right now we're gonna slide in the motor and hopefully get all the transmission bolts on and bolt it all down. So we're gonna throw in the torque converter right now. I'm gonna get some help and we're gonna drop in the motor, and hopefully I'm able to reach at least these two, the ones on the side, because we might have to drop the transmission cross member to get to the ones on top, which is what we did when we pulled out the motor. So we would put you guys on the time lapse, but it might take a while and we're not gonna put any music on the time lapse, so we're just gonna skip through all that and show you once the motor is in. And by the way, once we have the motor up here, we're gonna put the new motor mounts. Well, we got the engine in. When we went to put the bolts on the torque converter, the flywheel was stuck, so I'm guessing the torque converter is not seating all the way. So we're gonna drop the transmission down a little bit and hopefully we could get it in. But either way, we put the motor mounts on. These are the new ones. We had the alternator in as well. We're gonna bolt this up and then we're gonna start assembling this side. So we're gonna put the AC bracket, all the wiring and everything that goes on this side. We're gonna bolt it up. and then we might go ahead and do this side, or we will go ahead and do the transmission, since the exhaust is gonna have to be bolted, and once the exhaust is bolted, if we do this side first, it's gonna be more difficult to drop the transmission. When you put the engine in, make sure that you don't damage any of the wires. There's a couple of wires that are in the way, so just make sure you don't crush them or anything. We got the passenger side all buttoned up, well, most of it. The only thing we need to do is connect these stuff to the alternator, and then we have the starter cables down there just dangling, since we still have to mess with the transmission. And we are going to flush the heater core, so we're going to disconnect these two hoses, pull them off, and then put the hose in there and just open it up, and hopefully it flushes a lot of the rust or whatever's in there. And we are going to replace this pulley. This is the pulley that we got from Gates, 38042. Let me see if I can open it up right now. So it comes with this little spacer. I don't know if we're gonna need that, but I'm gonna take off this pulley right now, size 15. Oh yeah, and you do need that little spacer. The original one has it right there. I think this is an original pulley. So it goes through the front of the pulley. You put the bolt through. So we ended up putting the cherry picker back on the engine and removing the motor mounts, removing the AC compressor. The torque converter wasn't actually sitting properly. It needed about a quarter inch to a half an inch to be pushed in a little more. So the only way to do that was to pull the engine forward to like about here. And the transmission, we just bolted back up to the cross member. It was a hassle, but we got it done. This sensor right here was touching the firewall, so I don't know if we should change it right now. If not, we're gonna have to get back there after everything is done, because it was changing it. I don't think we damaged it because it touched the firewall very lightly. It wasn't like we smashed it. What else? So now we're gonna put the motor mounts back on, the AC compressor bracket back on, and actually, you know what, before we do that, we're gonna start putting at least one torque converter bolt. Make sure that that's gonna spin nice and free. So let me do that real quick, then after that we're gonna do the motor mounts and the AC bracket and start bolting everything back up. We're ready to put the header and intake manifold, so we're gonna use the Velcro gasket. This is the part number. I think most of these bolts are torqued down to 24 foot-pounds, except for this one and the one all the way back there, because those are nuts instead of bolts. So we're going to set this in there. Let's see, it might have a right side. Doesn't say anything, but I'm gonna put it like this. The numbers facing out. Slide it on there. Now I'm gonna set our header in here first. Before we throw this on, we're gonna remove this header gasket. I'm gonna use like a flathead screwdriver or something to get this out, and we have a new one. This is the one that we're gonna use. It's an exhaust pipe flange ring. It is part number 60836 from Velcro. So this just replaces that one. I mean, since it's out, might as well do it. And we're gonna clean the threads on these studs with the wire wheel, the wire brush, and we're gonna clean the surface on this. We installed the intake and the header. We torqued all the bolts down. We clipped the harness back where it should go. We have these injector connectors ready to be plugged in. The throttle body went back on. This the sensors are plugged back in. The brake booster line and all those other vacuum lines are connected where it should go. This power steering bracket is back on. We also routed the O2 sensor plugged on here. Now we're going to take off these injectors and we're going to clean them up with some gasoline, get all this off. as much as possible, and we're gonna throw some new O-rings on, and then we'll put them back in there. Forgot to mention that this is the throttle body gasket part number 60948 from Velcro, and these are the O-rings that we put on the injectors, ES70599 from Velcro as well. Now we're gonna go ahead and replace the clutch fan. This one was working properly, but while everything is out, might as well replace it. We're gonna go with GMB. So this is the part number for that, 920-2380. We're gonna remove these 4 bolts that hold the blades onto the clutch fan, and then we're gonna bolt it up to this new clutch fan. That goes on here with these 4 studs and the 4 nuts holding it to the engine. We just finished putting the fuel rail in. All the connectors are back on the injectors, and this little vacuum thing is cracked, so we have to get another one of those. And we also have to get the fuel line to be able to connect it to this, because this one's bad. So now we're gonna do the radiator and the whole front end. It's gonna go back on, and then we're gonna do the power. Actually, you know what, we're doing the power steering right now. We have to replace the O-ring that goes from the reservoir to the actual pump, because it was leaking. And we're gonna replace this hose, the return. The pressure side was already replaced. So we got the power steering pump in. We put a new O-ring on this. This is the kit that we got from Rock Auto for that O-ring, 8554 from FVP, and it comes with the whole rebuild kit for the pump. The pump was good. We only needed that one O-ring, and it was like $5 for the whole kit, so we just ordered the whole thing. We already put the high pressure side on. Now we're going to put the serpentine belt, and this is what we got. Micro V from Gates, part number K060975. So we're gonna install this, since this is the last part we needed for the belt to go on. We installed the serpentine belt. We also installed the bracket for the gas pedal and the cruise control and all that. So now we're gonna do the radiator, and we went with this from AutoZone. It was like $180, I think, with tax. And we got the, it doesn't come with the radiator cap, so we ordered one on Rock Auto. So we're gonna throw this on there. The one that came on the Jeep, it wasn't bad or anything. We just decided to replace it. We want everything on the cooling system to be new, so it won't give us any overheating problems or anything like that. This top piece is now on. We just received the power steering hose for the return line. This is the part number from FVP. So we're gonna go ahead and install that. That would be this line right here. That one right there. And take it out of the package, and it comes with little O-rings, so make sure you put that on this end. We're gonna put a little bit of oil, and then we're gonna slide it into the steering box, and then we'll bolt it up. All right, we got the air box in. We got all these vacuum things hooked up. We got the new return line for the power steering hooked up as well. We just need to add some power steering fluid to this. Oh, we need to top this off with some coolant as well. We went with this coolant. It's concentrated, so you have to add water. So we picked up distilled water from the 99-cent store. We're gonna add I believe 1 gallon of distilled water, and then we're gonna add 1 gallon of the coolant, so that would be 50-50, and then we'll keep topping it off. I think we have another gallon of this, so let me go ahead and put that on here, or in here, and once it's topped off, we'll hook up the battery, check the oil, check the transmission oil, and fire it up. Now we're gonna go ahead and open the ignition so we could get some fuel up here to the fuel rail. So we're gonna do it a couple of times, and then we're gonna crank it in. Hopefully it starts.
Hold on, hey. It's off.
Do it again, open the switch. We have a pretty big fuel leak right here. I'm gonna have to take this off and see what the issue is. We just took it out and we pulled out the O-ring and put it back in. Hopefully it sealed it at least a little bit to get it to start. Nope, It got worse. So we're gonna need to figure that out now. Fuck. We didn't even mess with that. I don't even know how it went bad, but I'm gonna have to go get one either at AutoZone or find the O-rings for this. Freaking sucks. Nothing else is leaking but this. But when it was cranking, it didn't sound bad, so hopefully we get it to start once this is fixed. We got new O-rings in there. Now we're gonna open the ignition. Open it. That's not leaking right now. Close it and open it. Again? Okay, try to turn it on. Yeah, turn it off. So there you have it, it's on. It was making a weird noise, which freaked us out. We thought it was something bad, but we didn't put the last two. These last two transmission bolts, the E12, because we broke the vent tube from the back. From the back of the transmission, so we were waiting on that. We found one on a Cherokee Facebook page, and the guy sent it to us. It hasn't gotten here, so we were planning on putting that with the two bolts, lower the transmission a little bit, and then throw those things on. But that's what's causing that noise. So we have to put the pressure here to close that little gap, and also the transmission mount is bad, so I guess that could be part of the issue. But the engine is running pretty good. It turns on right away, and we still have to bleed out the air bubbles from the cooling system, and that would have to be once we put the bolts, since we can't run it too long, because we would have to be holding the pressure right here in front of the motor. But that's it for this video. We're gonna throw the front clip back on and we should be done. So the next couple of videos are gonna be the suspension, so stay tuned for those. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Yonke_OXC Films. I'll leave that in the description down below, and we'll catch you in the next one.